Welcome to Black Girl Say Something, where this black girl has something to say. And there's only 18 days left in the year, 12 days till Christmas. And I just want to say, I'll probably call this message a message for the parents. I'll call this one a message for the parents. And so, I never want to talk about anything that I haven't actually experienced or anything that I haven't actually done the research and seen that it works. So much as it relates to my children has been happening the last 2 weeks. And it's like, boy, y'all really trying to take me out with a bang here. Between the raging teenage hormones, which, again, I still am currently working diligently at dispelling the narrative that the teenage years are the hardest. And I feel like the more that I say that, the more I put it out in the atmosphere, the more the atmosphere is showing me it's going to take you on a wild ride. Y'all know I got a 14-year-old. And the more I'm finding that the preteen hormones in boys are they're just up there with the teenage girl. But the one thing that I can say that I am glad for, that I afford my children the opportunity to experience their big feelings and to learn how to self-regulate in a healthy way. That's what I want to leave you with. So in doing that, I think sometimes as parents, we get caught up maybe in our own New Year's resolutions. I stopped doing New Year's resolutions about 5 years ago. I'm going to say 2019, when I started to realize that my New Year is my birthday. I had known that for a long time, but I would start diligently working on my vision board October 21st, kind of pulling things together. But when you are in a space where you can't cultivate and grow, because of course, y'all know I was married to, right? So when I was in that space, there was no room for me to cultivate my growth. And so I kind of put it on the back burner, and I would just say, you know what, when the new year come, I'll pick it back up. And I found myself not picking things back up. As of this year, what happened was, because I celebrated the children's birthdays separately, I had the opportunity to get to know them more on an individual level. And I think this is a message for, the reason why I'm titling this one a message for the parents, because there's a number of messages that are happening. I had a conversation with a lady. Let me back up a little bit. I don't want to get too ahead of myself. So I got to experience them on an individual level. And so one message to parents is, if you have multiple children, get to know them on an individual level. Because sometimes it can be so much more easier to kind of lump them together. And then we're finding that we may be lacking in an area of relationship with one child over the other. And this is where sibling rivalry comes in. And as somebody who didn't necessarily grow up in a sibling rivalry type relationship, only to get older and find out that there was rivalry on one of our parts, parents are fully responsible for the relationship that their children have when they are children, right? They're always your children, even when they become adults. But how are you cultivating that relationship between them and yourself? And kind of for me, because there's three of us, I'll say the trifecta of relationship that happens. I'm recognizing that they're individuals. I know they're individuals, right? Because they're a boy and a girl. But celebrating their birthday separately allowed me the opportunity to see what is the things that they really like. What are the things that they really want to do? What are their hopes, their dreams, their goals? What does that look like for them in the future? And so getting to know them on that individual level, I think, has allowed us to have tighter bonds differently. And then understanding their communication styles, understanding their communication styles, understanding their big emotions and things like that. So then fast forward, I have a conversation with a good friend. And the reason why she doesn't know this, and if she hears this, she'll probably know it now. I look up to her so much because she has 3 sons. They're grown men, of course. I think she said her oldest is like a little younger than me, maybe 32. The oldest is like maybe 32. The youngest is like 22, 23. And then there's a middle one. I don't remember how old he is. But they're all doing really great. They're doing great things. They are where they're supposed to be in life because their mother and their father poured into them. So she was letting me know that her 22-year-old, which to me if I was a 22-year-old who had parents who owned a home and had some sort of stability, I probably at 37 would still be living at home. Not living at home for the purpose of doing nothing, but living at home because why would I need to buy a house when my parents own a house? And I would be traveling and speaking and doing all of those things. Because remember, I did a global doctorate. But I think if I had more stability from my parental relationships, I would have been some big MD doing plastic surgery all over the world, or whatever the case may be, vision surgery, whatever. So she was letting me know about, she had a conversation with someone, and this someone said something to the effect about her son that was in a negative light. And she said, they don't know, but that's going to be my last conversation with them. So that leads me to my second message. What conversations are you having with people that you are allowing them to speak negatively over your children? I experienced something what I would say was very tumultuous with my daughter. And because she has not given me free range to speak about it, I will stop right there. It was a conversation that we had. The conversation blew up. And I'll leave it at that. For me, it bruised me a little bit. And I didn't really share it with anyone. I didn't share it with anyone other than my therapist and her therapist. Didn't share it with anyone. Why? Because I don't need anyone to speak negatively over my child. I don't need anyone to tell me what they would do from their unhealed place. I don't need anyone to give that negative connotation and that negative advice over the black mother-daughter relationship. Because as a black woman, and if you're a daughter, and if you've experienced some of the things I've experienced, there's a lot of research out there to back it up. Doctor of Health Science here. When we talk about the relationships that happens with a black girl, single mother dynamic, and her daughter turns about 11 years old. There's that. So I'm very mindful and selective in what I will share as it relates to the things that are happening between me and my children right now, because it is a part of the growing. It is a part of the healing, and it is a part of the journey. And in this journey, I don't want anyone to take me off course because I'm dealing with it from a healed place, and I don't need the advice that you're going to give me from an unhealed place. So fast forward, we work through some things, and some things get worked through, and here we are. And I haven't shared it with anyone other than our therapist, because those are the professionals that are going to help us heal through this little journey that we're on, this little hiccup, right? But I'm fortunate enough to allow my children to have the space to experience the big emotions in the comfort of their home and their safety. So now fast forward, I have another message for some people who have boys, especially the preteens. And when I say preteens, I'm talking about starting at about 7, formative years. And it could even go as low as 5. So my son he was addicted to the game. Let's call it a spade, an ace. Let's tell the truth and shame the devil. He was addicted to the game. And a part of me remembers when he first got introduced to the game, I was very upset by that because I wasn't the parent who introduced him to the game. Because I know in my research and my study, and also I work in vision care, how damaging introducing so much screen time can be to a child. With my daughter, she wasn't an iPad kid. She did not become an iPad kid until she was in elementary school. And so we see the evolution of time. She's born in 2010. We see the evolution of time as children are being introduced to tablets and iPads and cell phones earlier and earlier. My 14-year-old still does not have a phone. My 10-year-old still does not have a phone. And I intend to keep it that way, to be quite honest with you, until they're like 16. Because when you introduce the phone so early, just a little sidebar, you take away their situational awareness and you take away their ability to think critically. And you can look up the research on that. But fast forward, he has been without the game. Put him on a point system. He earned the game back. And when he earned it back, he thought he was still going to be able to play the game Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That wasn't the case. Now he only plays the game for 2 hours. 2 hours. 2.5 hours, 2 hours and 30 minutes on Saturday. He can split it up however he wants. He can do an hour, then an hour and 30 minutes. He can do the whole 2 hours and 30 minutes. But also, this is contingent upon him doing all of the things that he needs to do. And he still has to earn the points from Monday through Friday in order to be able to play the game on Saturday. So, what does it require of me? Because now, if he's not playing the game, as soon as he comes home from school on Friday, all day Saturday, all day Sunday, it requires more of me as a parent. Me to be more proactive. Me to get him, because he likes to read books. Me to go to the library whenever he asks me to take him to the library. Me to keep him with things to do. Buy him the color pencils and the coloring books and the crossword puzzles and those things. He hasn't had an iPad in a while because the screen broke, and I just was like not in a place to take it to the place to get it fixed because it's not really close to me. But I'll tell you this, another message to parents. Do that detox for the kids. Let that be you sometimes as a parent have to create the New Year's resolutions for your children, right? Because what happened is he just had an appointment with the therapist. And guess what I found? They were asking him about his sleep because it's been about a month. It's been about 2 months since they started seeing this new therapist. So they started asking questions about sleep and this, that, and the third. And she was reminding me that when we first started, he was having issues falling asleep, staying asleep, and waking up with nightmares. So now he's trying to convince the therapist to convince me to say, why can I play the game even more? And so the therapist pulls up the American Pediatric Association article that talks about screen time and how damaging it can be. And the fact of the matter is, did he receive it? Not really, because of course he's 10. If he doesn't get his way, he's not. If it's not going to work in his favor, of course he's not going to receive it. And that's okay, right? We know some adults who are like that. But here's the funnier part. He's been sleeping. He's been getting his sleep. He's been falling asleep and he's been staying asleep. Why? I know this because he doesn't realize that this is me taking notes on the research to let him know, hey, buddy, you've been staying asleep. The less screen time you have, it's working. And then you got to take into account if a child between the age of 8 to 12 is only supposed to have 7 hours a week of screen time. That doesn't include the screen time they use at school on the computer, the screen time they might use at the library. This is not just leisure screen time. It's screen time overall. So me giving him only 2 hours at home, and he gets an hour, like 2 to 3 days a week of TV time, which is very much controlled content. There's no YouTube. There's practically a YouTube ban in the house currently because it just is. It's not controlled content. I'm in a place where even if I was consuming the same content as them, I want to now create a space where they're watching controlled content. So you can watch the Pokemon. You can watch the little shows on Netflix. You can watch the shows on Hulu and things like that. But in all of this, the message to parents would be create those as the year is coming to a close, create those resolutions for your children and implement them. Gather up resources. I have been going live every day this month on YouTube, participating in something that they call over there Vlogmas. So tune in. I'm doing that every day at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I've been going live. So check out some of those. The links will be in the description of this episode to the YouTube. But I'm saying all of this to say I had an episode where I was talking and someone was asking me, what do you do if you don't meet your goals? You create another goal contingent upon that goal to help you find the resources for the goal. Does that make sense? So if the goal is, I don't like to use like working out. For me, if the goal is reduce screen time for your children. Now, y'all know, if you've ever had to take your kid's game, iPad, whatever, away, they're going to be in your face 1,000%. They go from being in your face 10%. The minute they don't have their devices, they in your face 1,000%. So the goal would be, if the goal is to reduce screen time, and you're not in a mental headspace to be successful in that goal, I would highly suggest you start introducing other things for them to do. For me, I typically introduce things that's not going to cost me money. Let's go to the park. it's a two-piece goal, because now if I take you to the park so you can play, I can get my mile a day in. I'm going to be walking while you're playing, right? If it means taking you, it's been a little cooler lately, but one of the things was take them to the pool to swim while I work on my laptop. Another one would be take them to the library. The library, for me, use y'all library. If you are a homeowner and you live in a neighborhood that has library, use the library. That's what your tax dollars are going towards. It was just a random trip to the library, and I found out that they do tutoring, but lifestyle tutoring. And so in this lifestyle tutoring, they get to use real life math and real life word problems to enhance critical thinking. Because y'all know, part of my frustration in parenting was that I was working at the university as a professor, and I saw that there are so many 20-somethings entering the realm that is college, with no critical thinking and even barely the ability to read. So keep them reading, right? When they get home from school, my debrief, you don't get to hop on devices. You don't get to turn on the computer. You don't get to do any of that. You need to read for an hour and 45 minutes. Why an hour and 45 minutes? Because at that point, you done got your brain to calm down from the hypeness that you came home with from school. Dinner is already ready. Typically, if dinner is ready beforehand, if not, I'm going to pick something that I can cook and get it ready within that hour and 45 minutes so that they can eat. So create a goal, but if you find that you may not be able to meet that goal, create a goal that is going to allow you resources to meet that goal. So kind of these small introductions, right? When you think about short-term goals versus long-term goals, when you think about big goals versus smaller goals, sometimes you need to create smaller goals to meet the bigger goal. So as parents, I just want to say we're all just doing our best. Our best is sometimes seeing how we can do better. And our best is sometimes just where we're at. Our best is sometimes finding a space to get the help that we need. So I'll say this, as the year is coming to a close, let's recenter, refocus. Let's not lose sight of the fact that we're not raising children, we're raising world changers. That's for me. When I listen back to this, if that's not you, that's fine. But for me, I'm raising world changers. I'm raising those who are going to be looked at differently. I'm raising a son that when they look at him, he's not going to be the typical black man. He's going to be emotionally well. He's going to be one that loves his self-care, that has great hygiene, that when you think of a black man, the typical black man, I should say, because right now, when you think of the typical black man, my son will be an addition to being extraordinary. When you think of a black woman, you're going to see that my daughter is extraordinary. Not just in the way that they look, but in the way that they present themselves, in the way that they feel about themselves, in the way that they show up in the world. World changers in their world and in the world around them. So think about that as we come to a close. Don't just create goals for yourself. Maybe your goal could be, as a parent, changing your parenting style. I'll never forget when I was having a riff earlier this year. I was having such a hard time. I was like, parenting is so frustrating. And I did say to my therapist, I hate that I'm stuck being the only parent here. And she was like, what's your parenting style like? And I was like, girl, what? I was like, well, my parenting style is I allow them the opportunity to speak up and let me know that. And she's like, no, what's your parenting style? And she pulled up a parenting style chart. Google parenting styles. Do you know that your parenting style can change every 30 days? Because your children are not the same every 30 days. You could be the same all the days of your life. But guess what? When you're a parent, it gets frustrating when you find that you have to change and evolve in every aspect of your life when you're dealing with your children. And I think what I'll do on this note, I'll leave it here, because this was a topic that was weighing so heavy on me that I was like, I'm not going to even talk about this on YouTube. I got to talk about this on the podcast, because I have garnered such a mass of listeners over here. With that being said, I thank you for tuning in. If something was said that resonated with you, share this with at least one person. Your support to the podcast all since the beginning is so greatly appreciated. Thank you for tuning in with your girl all 2024. I did also post on YouTube the Wrapped. I'll post it here on probably the next episode. Remember, there's some links in the description of this episode. Please interact with them. You can follow us on TikTok, like us on Facebook, and there's subscriber-only content that is currently available where this Black girl has even more to say. For your monthly subscription, you can tune into that. As well as we are live every day this month participating in Vlogmas over on YouTube. That is every day at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Remember, you can catch an episode of Black Girl Say Something every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you for listening.